The door of the biker bar slammed open so hard it shook the glass behind the counter. A 12-year-old girl stood in the entrance, barefoot, breathless, shaking so badly she could barely stay upright. Her eyes were wide with terror, scanning the room like she had been running for her life and hadn't stopped yet. And then she said it. "They're coming." Silence hit the bar instantly. No music, no talking, no clinking glasses. Even the air felt frozen. A half-filled beer stopped halfway to a man's mouth. A pool cue paused mid-shot. Every head slowly turned toward her. The girl took one step inside, then another, like her legs were about to give out. "They're coming, please." Her voice cracked on the last word. Behind the counter, the bartender didn't move. Not at first. He just stared like he couldn't process what he was seeing. A child. Alone. In a place like this. From the corner booth, the biker club president finally stood up. Slow. Controlled. Heavy boots hitting the floor one step at a time. He wasn't a man who reacted quickly to anything. His face carried years of scars, silence, and decisions most people never had to make. His eyes locked onto the girl immediately, not her words first, her fear. That was the real message. He raised a hand slightly, not to scare her, but to calm the room. "Easy," he said quietly, not looking at anyone else. "Nobody move." The girl flinched anyway. Her hands were covered in dirt. Her shirt was torn at the sleeve. There was a faint bruise forming near her wrist, like she had been grabbed hard and escaped anyway. She tried to speak again, but nothing came out, just breath. Sharp. Broken. Fast. The biker stepped closer, but stopped at a safe distance. "What's your name, kid?" She hesitated. Like even saying her name might make her easier to find. "Leela." "Leela," he repeated calmly. "You're safe in here, you understand me?" She didn't answer, because she didn't believe it yet, not fully. Her eyes kept darting to the door behind her, like she expected it to explode open at any second. One of the bikers in the back muttered under his breath, "She's running from something." The president heard it, but didn't react. Instead, he leaned slightly forward. "Look at me, Layla." It took a moment. But she did. Her eyes met his. And for the first time, her breathing slowed just a little. "Who's coming?" he asked. That question changed everything. Her lips trembled. Her hands clenched into fists like she was trying to hold herself together. Then she whispered. "They said if I told anyone, they would take me back." The room shifted. Not physically, but emotionally. Something heavy landed inside every man there. The kind of silence that wasn't empty, but full. Full of understanding. Full of recognition. The president's jaw tightened slightly. "Take you back from where?" She shook her head fast. No, I can't." Her voice broke completely now. Tears came suddenly, like her body had been holding them back too long. And when she finally spoke again, it wasn't just fear anymore. It was survival. "I ran away," she said. "I ran while they weren't looking." A biker near the wall shifted his weight. Another lowered his eyes slightly, not out of disinterest, but memory. Every man in that room understood something unspoken. Nobody runs like that unless something is very wrong. The president knelt slightly, not all the way, just enough to make himself less towering. "Hey," he said gently, "you did the right thing coming in here." Leela shook her head immediately. "No, I shouldn't have. I don't know where else to go." Her voice dropped again. "They're going to find me." That sentence hung in the air like a storm waiting to break. The bartender quietly reached under the counter, but not for a weapon, for water. He placed a bottle on the bar slowly, sliding it toward her without sudden movement. Leela didn't take it at first, like she didn't trust anything that easy. The president noticed everything, every hesitation, every flinch, every glance toward the door. This wasn't just fear, this was training. Someone had taught her to be afraid. Outside, somewhere in the distance, a sound echoed faintly. A vehicle engine. Then another. Then another, not close yet, but getting closer. The girl heard it instantly. Her entire body locked up. "No," she whispered. Her eyes snapped toward the door. "They're here." The temperature in the room dropped without anyone touching the thermostat. Every biker slowly stopped what they were doing. No jokes, no movement, no noise, just awareness. The president straightened slowly, his eyes never leaving the girl. "How many?" he asked. But she didn't answer. Because she wasn't looking at him anymore. She was looking at the door, like she could already see them coming through it. The sound outside grew louder, closer. Metal rolling on pavement, engines approaching. The girl took a step backward without realizing it. Her voice barely came out. "I didn't want to come here." A pause. Then, softer. "But I didn't have anywhere else." The president turned his head slightly toward the room. One glance. That was all it took. No words were needed. The entire biker club understood. Something was coming. And whatever it was, had just made the worst mistake of its life. The president looked back at Leela, and in a calm voice that didn't match the rising tension outside, he said, "You're safe right now. A beat. Then, but I need you to stay behind me." The engines outside got louder. And the girl whispered the last thing before everything changed. "They don't stop." The president's eyes hardened slightly. "We do." And outside the bar, the first shadow passed across the window. The shadow outside the window didn't move alone. Another followed it. Then another. Engines rumbled closer, shaking the thin glass panels of the biker bar like distant thunder that refused to stay distant. Inside, nobody spoke. Not a single word. The president stood still in front of the girl, like a wall that didn't intend to move for anything. But his eyes were no longer just calm. They were calculating. Leela stayed frozen behind him, barely breathing now. Her small hands clutched the back of a chair so tightly her knuckles had turned pale. "They found me," she whispered again. But this time it sounded less like warning and more like confirmation. A biker near the pool table quietly said, "They're organized." Another replied under his breath, "Too many engines for a random search." The president didn't turn around. He didn't need to. He already knew what was forming outside. Whatever this was, it wasn't small. It wasn't accidental. It was coordinated. He slowly leaned his head slightly toward the bartender. "Lock the back exit." No panic, just instruction. The bartender nodded immediately and moved without hesitation. The president then glanced over his shoulder at the room. Phones down. No one records anything. A few bikers already had their hands moving away from pockets. Not fear, discipline. Then his attention returned to the girl. "Leela," he said quietly. "You did good coming here." She shook her head violently. "No, I shouldn't have. I made it worse." Her voice cracked again. "They said if I told anyone, they would bring everyone." That sentence hit differently now, because outside, it wasn't just someone anymore. It was many. A slow rumble built up beyond the walls. Then headlights flashed across the window, one after another, bright, controlled, deliberate, not random traffic, a formation. The president exhaled slowly through his nose. So it was like that. He turned slightly toward the room again. "This is not a fight," he said calmly. "Not yet." A pause. "But it might become one." Every biker straightened. No one argued. No one questioned. That was the difference between them and chaos. They didn't react. They prepared. One biker stepped forward slightly. "Orders?" The president's voice stayed low. "We hold the line. Nobody touches the girl. Simple. Final. Unbreakable." Leela looked up at him, confusion mixing with fear. Why are you helping me?" The question hung in the air. Even the bikers seemed to pause at it. Because it wasn't tactical. It was personal. The president looked down at her. and for a brief moment something behind his eyes changed. Not softness exactly. Something older. Something remembered. "Because someone should have done it for us," he said quietly. No more explanation. No more needed. Outside, an engine shut off. Then another. Then silence. Too much silence. That was worse. Leela took a small step back. "They're here." The president raised one hand slightly again, not at the bikers this time. "At her. Stay behind me." Then, for the first time since she walked in, the front door of the bar didn't open slowly. It opened like it had been waiting. The light from outside poured in, cutting across the floor in a sharp line. Silhouettes filled the doorway. Not just one. Several. Dark shapes against headlights. A presence that felt heavier than noise. The president didn't move. Neither did the room. And Lila stopped breathing entirely. One of the figures outside stepped forward just enough for his voice to carry in. "You've got something that belongs to us." The words weren't shouted. They were controlled. Certain, the kind of confidence that came from power that had never been challenged before. A biker inside shifted slightly, but stopped when the president raised a subtle hand. No reaction yet. Not on their terms. The president finally spoke, his voice calm but carrying across the room. Depends what you're looking for. A pause. Then the figure outside replied, "A missing kid." Silence hit again. But this time, it wasn't confusion. It was confirmation. Every biker slowly shifted their attention toward the girl behind him. Leela shook her head immediately. "No," she whispered. "No, no, no." Tears returned instantly. "They said they would come, I told you." The president didn't turn around. He didn't need to, because now everything made sense. This wasn't random fear. This was pursuit. Outside, another voice joined in. "We don't want trouble. Just the girl." That sentence changed the room. Because it sounded polite. Reasonable. And that was exactly what made it dangerous. The president finally tilted his head slightly. "And if she doesn't want to go?" A pause. Then the answer came. "She doesn't get a choice." That was it. The moment everything shifted. Inside the bar, something cold settled into place. Not panic. Decision. The president exhaled slowly. Then he said one sentence that broke the silence completely. "She stays." Outside, the headlights flickered slightly, like the world itself had just adjusted its weight. Leela's voice barely came out behind him. "Please, don't let them take me." The president didn't look back, but his answer was immediate. "No one takes you from here." And then, somewhere deep in the bar, an engine roared to life. Not outside, inside. The sound ripped through the silence like a warning shot without bullets. One by one, more engines followed. The room came alive, not chaos, control turning into force. The bikers were no longer sitting. They were ready. Outside, the silhouettes paused, because now they understood something had changed. The bar wasn't just shelter anymore. It was territory. And the president finally stepped forward, just slightly, toward the door. Meeting the unknown head on. The girl stayed behind him, trembling, but not alone anymore. And as the engines inside the bar roared louder, the silence outside didn't last long. It never does when power is involved. One by one, the figures in the doorway shifted, adjusting their stance, as if expecting resistance but still confident it would be small. But what they didn't understand was what they were standing in front of. Inside the bar, the engines didn't stop. They multiplied. Low, heavy vibrations filled the floor, crawling up the walls, rattling every glass on the counter. Leela stood frozen behind the president, her small hands gripping his jacket now instead of a chair. She wasn't alone anymore. But fear doesn't disappear instantly. It just changes shape. The president stepped forward once. Just one step, enough to bring him into full view of the doorway. His voice was calm. Too calm. "You made a mistake coming here." Outside, a man scoffed slightly. "We're not here for you," the president nodded slowly. "I know." A pause. Then he added, "But you're still here." That was the difference. Inside the bar, bikers were no longer waiting. They were mounting up, jackets tightened, gloves on, engines synced. Not random aggression, coordination. Control. Outside, the group finally noticed something they hadn't before. The sound wasn't just one bar preparing, it was many. The president lifted 2 fingers slightly behind him. A signal. And the entire room responded. Engines roared in unison. The bar erupted into vibration. Not panic, power. Leela flinched at the sound, then slowly looked around. For the first time since she ran in, she saw it. No one was scared. Not one of them. The man at the doorway took a small step back without realizing it. Just one. That was enough. The president spoke again. "She's not going anywhere." A long pause followed. Then, finally, the lead figure outside turned his head slightly, communicating silently with the others. A decision was made, not spoken. Decided, and just like that, they backed away. Slowly, not running, not fighting, leaving. The headlights shifted, engines turned, and one by one, the silhouettes disappeared into the night they came from. The threat was gone. But the silence that followed wasn't empty. It was heavy. Inside the bar, the engines slowly died down, one by one, until only calm remained. Leela stepped out from behind the president slightly. Her voice was soft. "They're gone?" The president looked down at her. For the first time, his expression softened slightly. "Yeah," he said, "they're gone." She didn't speak for a moment. Then she asked the only question that mattered. "Why did you help me?" He hesitated, just briefly. Then replied, "Because nobody should have to run like that alone." Leela's eyes filled again, but this time not from fear. Something else. Relief. Outside, the night returned to normal. But inside that bar, something had permanently changed. The president turned slightly toward the room. "Someone get her food." A biker immediately moved. Another pulled up a chair. Life returning. Normality rebuilding itself around something extraordinary. Leela sat down slowly, like her body finally understood it was allowed to rest. And for the first time that night, she wasn't looking at exits anymore. She was looking at people. People who showed up. Sometimes strength isn't about power. It's about who chooses to stand between danger and innocence. So tell me, what would you do if a child ran into your life asking for help? Leave your answer in the comments. And if you want more emotional, cinematic stories like this, subscribe for the next one. The line had been drawn.